Good morning. This is the
Good.
Blaine's World podcast where conversations are worth hearing and seeing. You can watch each week on Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. You can also listen in on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. And for more information and past episodes, visit my website, which is behind me, blainesworld.net. I'm your host, Blaine Greenfield, coming to you from my Zoom studio in lovely downtown Fairview, North Carolina. And each week we share positive news and uplifting stories about people and organizations in Western North Carolina and across the country. And toward then, it's my pleasure to introduce Jan Robbins, owner of Cuddle Babies, as my guest today. And Jan, you can feel free to wave to all your fans and friends watching this. That is Jan Robbins. I should mention that Jan is caretaker of a unique kind of business called Cuddle Babies, which are very realistic newborn dolls that are proven to provide comfort and joy to those with Alzheimer's and dementia diagnosis. And like what she says, never underestimate the love of babies.
Hmm.
But Jan, aside from doing this, you always amaze me because you do about 27 other things kind of simultaneously. And we'll start talking about them in a second. But before we do, as a child, you grew up where?
I was born in Winston-Salem, but I grew up for the most part in Hickory, North Carolina.
Okay, as a child growing up in Hickory, North Carolina, I'll ask you two things. One, did you always know you wanted to be an actor?
No, I kind of stumbled into that, and it worked.
Yeah, how'd you stumble into it?
Well, to be honest with you, I was taking voice lessons
Right.
because I wanted to learn to sing well, and the person that was giving me the lessons said, we're doing a show called Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat, and they need more voices. And it was a show at a local community theater. And he said, I've already signed you up for it. So I was like, okay. And that did it. I did a little bit of acting here and there when I was growing up, but nothing like like I've done lately. And
Very
that's how
cool.
I got started.
As an actor. And then you mentioned to me off the air, before you were involved in Cuddle Babies and before you, as you mentioned, also in your spare time, you're a security guard. Okay. Um, what else did you do professionally in your life? What were you?
Well, I started out in furniture,
Okay.
and then furniture went away.
Right.
Went overseas. So I had to find, I was a single mother, had three little boys. Had to find a way to make a living. So I went into medical administration, and that's what I did for the most part. And then I kind of retired from that, but I couldn't afford to retire. So then I thought, well, I could be a security guard. That would be fun, something different. And I've been doing it for the past 11 years.
Okay. What amazed me about you is you're doing that in addition to doing all these other things you do, in
That's
terms
my
of,
real job.
well, I was going to ask you, but then how do you squeeze in sleep? Is that difficult?
I've kind of gotten used to it. I do work a night shift with the security guard, and the whole reason I do is so that I can go to rehearsals, so that I can take my cuddle baby, so that my days are free to do what I want to. And I squeeze sleep in there, here and there. I've gotten used to it. I can pretty much sleep anywhere now.
Okay, I can imagine. And like you said, you get to do shows. And right
Yeah.
now, even as we speak, you're right now kind of involved in two shows. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And what are those?
I'm doing the Music Man Senior at SART in Mars Hill, I'm really excited about it because it's the first, to my knowledge, around here, the first senior production of any show. You always see junior
Right,
productions,
right.
but this is the very first senior one. So everyone is 55 and up. I think our oldest cast member is 83, and she's kind of kicking my butt, to be honest with you. So I hope I'm like her when I grow up. But it's
Well,
been fun.
and you mentioned it's a senior play. And how do they define it as a senior play?
Well, all the actors are 55 and up in age. It's an hour long. It's a musical. It's been challenging, but it's so much fun. I
But
hope it'll start a trend to where we have a lot more senior opportunities because there's not a lot for senior people, and there's so many talented seniors here in this area that have very little opportunity to show what they can do.
Yeah, but it throws me a little bit. You said 55 and up, so you barely qualify, right?
Okay, we can. I'm 72, but I'm willing to go with that. I'm actually playing an 8-year-old girl and a 10-year-old girl.
Are
So
you are you really?
yeah, so it's my first time playing a child. I thought, I have played donkey, I have played a male, I have played all kinds of other things, but I don't think I've ever played a child. I've just had a blast. It's just
Well,
we've had a lot of fun.
and it's certainly perfect for you because in a nice kind of way, I think you certainly are childlike in a
Thank
variety of
you.
respects. And it ties into one of the reasons I want to talk to you today is this thing I read about on Facebook, and it just thought it was so cool. All of a sudden I'm reading, and we're friends on Facebook, we're friends outside of Facebook.
Yeah.
I read all of a sudden that Jen, you're involved in something called Cuddle Babies. And I announced it before, but what exactly are Cuddle Babies?
Cuddle Babies is an adventure that I started. I actually am in a Facebook group where another woman in Pennsylvania had started doing this. She was taking very realistic looking dolls, which we aren't going to tell them they're dolls. They know they're babies. And we do go to facilities or individuals that deal with depression, that deal with dementia, that have Alzheimer's, and they just get to cuddle a baby. And you would be amazed at the difference in the atmosphere when you put a baby in somebody's arms. It doesn't matter what world they're in at that moment, they just focus on that baby
Well,
and they
since,
rock them. And
well, since you're mentioning them, can we kind of at least meet one of the babies?
yes, let me get this one's Elliot. Elliot is my only male, and he is a full silicone baby, so he's soft and he's floppy, and he weighs 7 pounds. He's the actual size of a baby,
Okay.
and in some ways, he's too heavy for some of my clients. Some of them aren't that strong, but he's very much in demand. And I don't know partly if that's because he's the only male or if it's just because he's cute. But he feels like a real baby when you hold him.
So he's people like him. Do women and men like him, or it's just mostly
Yeah,
women?
no, I don't have as many men, but I do have some. And then one in particular has a crush on my Julie. Let me get my Julie for you, Elliot. She's at least awake. Elliot's sleeping. So Julie, he grabs her, charm down. He grabs her as soon as I get there. And he's in a wheelchair. And he has told her so many things. Of course, I take these babies and I'm there, but I'm not the focus. They will tell these babies things that they don't tell people. And it's kind of a privilege. It's kind of an honor to hear. I mean, he is a veteran, and he has told Julie all about his adventures in the war and his wife, and he has children that are, I guess, not local, so he doesn't get visits from them, and he will just hold her and tell her all about it. And he tells her, how she's so pretty and she's going to grow up and she's just going to break hearts of all these other men, that want her, and it's one of the things that really touches me is they will tell these babies their fears, and that's kind of therapeutic for them.
How did you start doing this? What got you the idea to do this?
A lady in the Facebook group that I was in said she'd started doing it in Pennsylvania, that she had gotten these very realistic dolls that I didn't know existed. Quite frankly, I raised 3 boys. I didn't have dolls. And she introduced me to it, and I thought, I really love these dolls, but I need a reason, to have dolls. And that's what started me. She introduced me to the different types of dolls, like the silicone dolls that are heavy, and like Julie's not very heavy, so she can be held for a long time. And some of them have pacifiers that they take, and some they give them their bottles, and I take diapers, and we change clothes. And it's just one lady that I visited very recently, a new one, told me she was a fairy, and we were sitting under a mushroom my whole visit while she was rocking a baby. And she was a little disappointed because the baby didn't have fairy wings. I mean, here we were in this fairy world. It was a delightful morning. And she was telling me that she lives in a tree and squirrels bring her presents and that the baby really should have had fairy wings. So I'm going to make sure the next time I go, I
Oh,
have fairy
how
wings.
cool is that? Now, how many of these babies do you have?
I have five, three that are the most popular. And I'm thinking of investing in another male, another boy, because he's so popular. But I don't think I will get one as heavy as Elliot is.
Now, before you started collecting them for this thing you do, had you had dolls as a kid, or were you a big
Yeah,
doll?
I loved dolls growing up, but I always loved baby dolls. I never played with Barbies or fashion dolls. I always wanted the ones that were like real babies. And they didn't have the cool dolls then that we have now. And I think we might get photobombed by a cat. Um, but this is just, I enjoy rocking these babies. It's been proven that holding a baby and rocking a baby can help someone relax. The gentleman in the wheelchair that I visit quite often is frequently very, very agitated, but as soon as he has a baby in his arms, he's calm as he can be. It gives him an opportunity to focus on something other than whatever their ailments are or what their situation is or what world they're in. They all focus on a baby and they just relax.
Talk, Jan, if you would, about the reaction of, I guess, two groups of people. One, you started talking a little bit about it, but first of all, what's your reaction of the people you visit who are in nursing homes or by themselves? What's their reaction?
They're thrilled. They're thrilled that they're getting. Some of them probably have not held a baby in 50 years, and they're absolutely thrilled with them. Some of them think they're real, and I never correct them because in their mind they are. In my mind, a lot of times they are too. But it gives them something to look forward to because some of them don't have other visitors. If they don't have family
Yeah.
or if they're in advanced stages, particularly of dementia or Alzheimer's, from day to day, you don't ever know how they are. But some of them don't remember their children's names, but they will remember the names of my babies because they'll ask for them. Oh, did you bring Julie? Oh, have you got Sydney here? So I usually, they get to choose, whatever baby they would like to cuddle. And we plan visits for an hour, but it's rare that we ever actually stay that long with one person. But they change diapers, they feed, they change clothes, they rock.
It must be exciting for you in terms of on a visit, they see some people come out of their shell.
Mhm.
Like, does that happen at times?
Yes, it does. Particularly people that are really depressed. There was one lady in particular. She sat in her room in a chair. That's all she did. She didn't come out of the room. And I had a nurse call me, and say, "Do you think you could bring one of your babies?" And I said, "Of course." And I found out, she's not real strong. She's kind of a frail little woman. And she was just very depressed. She had no family anywhere anymore. And I walked in carrying a baby, and I told her, I said, I really like for you to hold my baby. If you don't mind, I said, I've got something I need to do. Will you mind holding the baby? And she kind of looked at me, and I put it in her arms. And then she's like, well, I need a rocking chair. And she really hadn't even spoken to nurses there. She just sat in her chair. She had like a recliner type chair. That's where she sat. I went and hunted down. We found her a rocking chair, and she sat and she sang to the baby. She was singing lullabies, and she had a beautiful voice. I really enjoyed it. But it's an honor. It's a real privilege to witness that and to be a part of someone's life that makes it better. And
What
that's the whole point.
what about the reaction of people who don't have dementia or just in a nursing home or just can't get around?
In a nursing home, they're always thrilled to see me come. It's just
Even
like,
yeah,
yeah, it's just like if you see, therapy dogs that people love to have come visit. It's the same thing, but these babies require nothing of anybody. They're there.
The nice thing, I guess, too, they don't talk back.
No, they don't, and they don't cry. They're always happy. A lot of them are like Elliot and Sydney are always asleep, but whereas Julie's always awake. But it gives them a sense of family and a sense of they're needed. I think that's the really important thing is I think some of these people think well, they've lived their whole life. Now they have nobody. So what's the point in going on? And when you're holding a baby, they got to take care of it. It's
What's the shame, Jan, and I'll ask you about this in a second, is the reaction of some people, think like it's terrible or,
yeah,
whatever. Yet, as you said, they don't visit these people. They don't see them for months on end.
right.
But you're visiting, and not only with the dolls, but you're there also. So it's
Yeah,
just a human being, I guess, sees them as other people, not just
right.
people in a nursing home. Talk about talk about then where you go. So I know you told me off the air you go to a couple of nursing homes in the area.
Yeah, and I go to some retirement communities, and there's also some different facilities that are particularly Alzheimer's or dementia related, where we sometimes try to do a group. It hasn't worked really well, but we're working on that, where I have a group at a time rather than an individual. But otherwise, if I go into a facility, I go to individual rooms, and I take a baby and we talk and cuddle.
Lovely. Is it ever done in groups?
We're trying to do groups. We tried with 4 people in a group because I only have so many babies.
Right.
But that hasn't really worked well. I thought it in my mind. I thought it would because I thought maybe they could relate to each other, but that really doesn't happen. But it was a try. It was an experiment. We're still kind of working on it. Otherwise, I just go to individual rooms and visit and let them cuddle a baby.
Because one of the things I love about this, Jan, just hearing you talk about it, is the fact that I think I've told you my wife um, takes our dog to nursing homes.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the things she doesn't like is the fact that she can only spend a little bit of time with each person and she just move on. So
Yeah.
like 15, 20 people, there are multiple dogs. But here, I've told about it. She loved the idea of the fact she gets to spend time with people and can. Now, as you're visiting, are you also speaking to them as well?
Yes. I always speak to them. I always let them know that this is my baby, and I ask them to help me with the baby. Can you hold this baby? Some of them really, I don't think even see me. They see the baby. But that's where it's an honor to witness what they tell the babies or if they're singing to the baby. Like this lady that just sat in her chair, that's all she did. She barely ate. She didn't, it's like she was vacant. She wasn't even really there. But when the baby was there, she focused totally on that baby, and she really had a hard time kind of giving the baby back, which has been a little bit of an issue. But
I love how you describe it too. You describe it beautifully as an honor. So
it is an honor. Yeah.
and just it really is a service. Let me ask you in terms of the reaction you get from people. So I asked you reaction from people. What's the reaction you get when you go to a nursing home or an Alzheimer's facility? What's their reaction in terms of the administrators or the people in charge?
They have welcomed me. I always call ahead. Before I started this, wanted to start this little adventure, I made contact with the activities directors at different places in the administration to make sure that I would be welcome and that it would be okay. And they they were they were happy to hear it. They'd not been aware there was this kind of service. And the first time I've gone, they meet me at the door, and then some of them have to hold and cuddle a baby too. So we just pass around. The only negative thing I've ever had with these babies is I took one of my babies, Elliot actually, to a store to get him some clothes. And I had to take him because I couldn't figure out what size he wore, and I kept buying things that didn't fit. And there were some people that I think thought I was a little off. But, it's an education situation. It's like there's nothing wrong with an adult carrying a baby, carrying a doll.
Well, it's probably exciting for you when you turn somebody's opinion around, that
I
I know,
try, yeah.
yeah, some people have a negative reaction. Again, I told you the minute I heard that, I thought it's just such a cool thing to be doing because you're doing a service with people and they're not getting attention. So you go, what do you do this every day or how often do you do this?
No, I just kind of do it by appointment. Like right now, I'm very busy. I'm doing a couple shows and working. So I have to kind of work it in when I have time. Uh, I will be, once the shows are done, if I don't go into another show, um, I make appointments. People call and say, well, can you come? Particularly with some of the facilities, I have to come in the afternoon because that's like after lunch or in the morning before lunch. They carve out a time in their world, in their day,
Sure.
that I can do it. And the individuals that I go to, we just work, they're very flexible. They just want me to come. They don't care when I can. So I get there when I can. And we just make an appointment. Like I say, there's no charge. It's a free service. I do accept donations, and there's one little lady in a nursing home that I visit that wants to pay me to bring the baby, so she gives me $1. Well, every time I leave, I give the dollar to the nurse, and the
Oh,
nurse puts
really?
the same dollar back in her purse. So when I come the next
Oh,
time,
really?
I got another dollar. That dollar's gotten a lot of circulation.
Well, except then, this does require, aside from the gas, going
Yeah.
back and forth and taking care of the
Hmm.
babies. And I like it. You call them your cuddle babies?
Yes. Yep. Because that's what they are. They're babies to cuddle.
So is your goal eventually to have a lot more cuddle babies or you have enough right now?
I want to expand a little bit. I want to get another boy. And I'm always looking for ones that they can hold easily. To me, the realistic ones, like my little Elliot or my Sydney, they're they're heavy. Like Elliot, who is very, very realistic. Get your arms up here. He weighs 7 pounds. And some of these people don't have that kind of strength. So unless I can do it in a way where they can like sit him in their lap, where they're not actually like holding him like this, they can only hold him for a short amount of time. But to me, that's the realistic part of it. So I have been doing some research, and I found, there are some babies that are maybe 2 or 3 pounds. And then there's some like my Julie that doesn't weigh anything. She's not weighted, but she looks real. So that's, I do want to expand some. Of course, I'm always up for buying a baby.
So you've done this now, you've done about 6 months, I think you said?
Yeah.
Okay. And so where do you see it going from here?
Well, I would like to have a situation where some of these facilities had like a nursery where the babies were there all the time. So if someone was having a down day or someone's new there and they're trying to kind of get them acclimated or helping them feel comfortable, they could just go cuddle a baby in this one particular place whenever they wanted to. I will say, there is one lady that I actually bought a baby for because she just needed it. She just needed a baby, and she needed one that she could have all the time. It was getting to be a fight to get my babies back. And and as soon as I leave, the nurse has said she just goes into her shell and that's it till the next round. And I'm only one person. My availability is limited. And I would love to see them just, even if they just had a baby bed and one baby, that could just be available whenever it was needed.
Now, I don't mean to put you on the spot here, but if anybody's listening or watching this, are you open to having other people do this with you?
I am. I've approached a couple of people with it. I guess part of my advantage with this is I do have a medical background. So I kind of understand some of the situations these people are in, and some of the things I need to be careful of. And that's a little tricky. And there are some administrative people that are hesitant to let just anybody do it. In my mind, it would be fine, but I don't run their facilities. but I am experienced. Like I said, I've spent many years working security in a retirement community, and I am familiar. When you first go to do this, it can be a little daunting, to go into a nursing home, particularly where there's dementia or Alzheimer's patients, because it's sad. And I didn't see it that way, but it was described to me that way. Well, we want to tell you it's sad here. These people aren't always aware where they are, what they're doing. You don't know what world they're in. But with me, I just go to whatever world they're in, and I'm in there with them. Just like I sat under a mushroom one morning. I just take them where they're at.
For you, is this a fun thing to do, or is
It is, and it's very fulfilling to me. It's giving back to a community that I really want to give back to. And if I can bring somebody some joy, I'm all for it. And it does. They brighten up and they come in and they'll be, and then when I leave, they're all smiles.
Well, that was funny you said that, because the first time I read about it, I had a smile. I think I called you up that day. I said I had to reach you because it was and it's an honor even for me to have you talking about this, because first time I've had anybody involved with Cuddle Babies. But I just want to, thank you for doing this. It's just a cool thing. Jen, if somebody is interested in finding out more about Cuddle Babies, in terms of if they want to volunteer to help you with it, or they want to be visited by a Cuddle Baby, should they do?
I can give you my email.
Okay, please.
And it's Jan's Cuddle Babies Service at yahoo.com. That's the best way, due to the fact that I do sleep at odd times. I don't always answer my phone if you try to call me. I will return a call, but that email is only for this Cuddle Baby service.
And if you would just repeat that in terms of how do you spell it, the first one.
I know it's a long term. It's Jan's, JANS CUDDLE BABIES Jan's Cuddle Babies Service at yahoo.com.
Okay. And do me a favor, message me, or I'll see if you can get it, because I'll put it in the description. So they catch that. So they could contact you by email to find about more about it, or also if they want to be visited.
Anything.
It's very sweet. So they go actually visit people at their homes?
Yes, I will go visit people's at home. There are people, caregivers,
right.
People that might have their parents living with them that are depressed, or, in Alzheimer's or dementia, that care for them. And I'll go anywhere that somebody wants to cuddle a baby.
Very sweet. And so, aside from Cuddle Babies, we can just revisit then your theatrical career, because again, I've seen you perform, I love watching you perform. And just again, repeat. So right now, at the end of this month, beginning of next, you're a Music Man Senior that's going to be at SAWT. And I think I have the website there, sawtplays.com. And you mentioned you're doing another play as well?
I'm doing Almost Maine, which is another Reader's Theater senior production at Givens Community Center. And that's, I want to say it's August the 27th, I'm thinking. And it's a totally free show that is actually, at the senior, it's all senior citizens also. But it's a Reader's Theater. I did Love, Loss, and What I Wore there, I want to say 2 years ago. And it's like I say, I'm trying to support all the senior things I can with theater. And this is another one. And I'm very honored to be able to do this show there, and that I got cast in it.
And in the future, have you, because I know you've been in a bunch of stuff, do you have a dream role that you'd like to do at some point in time?
You mean besides sleep, like 8 hours at a time?
Right.
I would like to retire and do Cuddle Babies all the time.
No, but
I would go on the road with them if I could.
But aside from that, in terms of theater, do you have anything you like to do as a show?
No, I love the musicals. I love the comedies, and I'm open to anything that I can. I love being on stage. I used to tease directors, said I'll be a chair as long as I can be on stage. That's where I get my joy.
Well, As mentioned, I'll put it in the description how to reach Jan because he's just a very versatile, very talented actor as well. And just this latest adventure just kind of knocked my socks off. So I want to thank you for doing it. And thank you for being my guest today on this Flamethrower
Thank you.
podcast. And also like thank my producer, Kim Jones. As I usually conclude by saying, I hope to see you in the future. But in your case, I will see you in the future because we want to be in. I'll see you Wednesday,
And you
actually.
may see a baby Wednesday too,
I
because
was
I
going,
have taken them to rehearsal.
I was just going to ask you, really? Do you get
Hmm.
what's reaction when you bring it to rehearsal?
Every lady there wants to cuddle a baby.
Do they really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. I generally have at least one, sometimes two babies there.
Well, I look forward to meeting them on Wednesday. So
Yeah.
very exciting. Anyway, Jen, thanks very much. And like I said, I'll see you just a couple days. Thanks, my friend.
Thank you. I appreciate you, Blaine.